Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you're watching from. I thought we would do a little kind of get ready with me, putting on some new makeup. And I wanted to share with you how I have lost, I guess about maybe, oops, I'm making a mess, 12 pounds without exercising. And that's not like bragging because exercise is important. I'm just drinking a glass of room temperature water with some healthy salt in it. The reason I have not been exercising is not because I recommend that. I think we should all exercise, move our bodies, but I'm having something going on with my neck. I just got an x-ray yesterday and I'm waiting to get the MRI. If you don't know, I have a history. This is why I was medically separated from the military, I don't know, 20 years ago. I had a neck injury, so they did surgery, didn't go well. It's triggered migraines, and then of course the discs above and below the surgery site oftentimes go bad. And so now it's around C7, I'm having a lot of issues. So if I look really stiff, it's just because I'm trying to stay still, because if I bend forward or whatever, it feels like something's like shifting out of place. So I know I have like, you know, foraminal narrowing and all of that fun stuff. But exercise for me right now, like I could probably do more like squats or something where I'm not like bouncing or moving, but I've had so many issues with my neck the past couple months, just out of the blue. And even sometimes walking, just the bounce of walking is triggering something in my neck. So anyways, I feel like something, I don't think my hardware that's in my neck is out of place, but I feel like something has shifted. I've already talked to the doctor, just waiting on more testing. But so when I say I lost this weight without exercise, I highly do not recommend you stop exercising. But, you know, for me, that's just kind of, you know, just being honest, I haven't been exercising. And to be quite honest, even when I do exercise, I despise exercising. It's something, even when I was super skinny years ago, I never liked to exercise. So I just do what I have to do in the gym because I just don't like it. But so just being totally honest. Got to keep it real on this channel. Also, I did not use a GLP-1 medication. I haven't taken any special medications, nothing like that, even though my doctor did recommend it. So I'm gonna put on my makeup and get ready for the day. My husband and I are just gonna go run some errands. So I don't know, I'll probably just do pretty much my basic everyday makeup, but I wanted to share a few new makeup products and a couple things that you guys recommended. I'm kind of testing these out first time, and you know, we'll see how they look. Also, I just got my lab results back. That's why I was waiting to share this video of how I'm losing weight. And you know, I plan to lose more weight, which every, you know, couple weeks I steadily lose a pound now, because I am doing it, I'm trying to do it the healthy way, nothing rapid, because, you know, I'm 53. When we have rapid weight loss, if we stop doing what we're doing, oftentimes it just comes right back and then some. So I wanna lose the weight the proper way. Plus, I don't want rapid weight loss because I don't want my skin to be, you know, stretched like a balloon, and then I don't want it to instantly shrivel up and then have my skin sagging. So I want to gradually, properly lose the weight so that my skin can keep up with the weight loss. And you know, that's just how I'm doing it. Now, also full disclaimer, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving you any health advice. I'm just pretty much telling you what I have done, since I've had many people ask what I've been doing, and what works for me might not work for you. So make sure you talk to, you know, your trusted doctor, dietitian, whatever, before you try any of these things that I'm doing. All right, I already put on a little bit of my 𝑰𝑵𝑚 sunscreen because, I don't know, I've gotten to where I like to layer different sunscreens, because with all of the testing and stuff coming out, and you know, sunscreen brands that we think are amazing, and then find out that, oh, it's not really an SPF 50, it's an SPF 5. So now I've gotten to where I'm like, well, I'll just layer a few different ones and have sunscreen in my makeup, and hopefully I will have plenty of sunscreen on for the day. So, but this is by the brand Pure. This is their 4-in-1 skin tint, and this is an SPF 50. All mineral. It says, yes, it looks like it has 12% zinc oxide, and the ingredients look nice, and some people were asking if I've tried it, so we're gonna try it right now. I put it on my hand the other day, so let me just put a smidgy on, and I shook it up first. It came in all different tints. Let me see which one I bought. I bought the shade, my golly, I can't read. I bought, hang on a second. I bought the shade M, like Mary, N, like Nancy, 3. That's the shade I bought. So It looks like it's a halfway decent match. It's kind of like a foundation. What it does. Oh, this is kind of pretty. It's very light. It doesn't have as much coverage as my all-time favorite Holy Grail Naked Sundays. This is my all-time favorite sunscreen foundation. It gives me a good, I'd say, medium coverage, but this isn't bad. And it's got a nice glow, so, oh yeah. Okay, so we'll just see. Let me just see if it dries down. Let's go ahead and just put it on our face the way we would do our Naked Sundays then, since it seems to have some coverage. Not bad. But let me look at the dry down, the finish. Of course, I'll have to see how it wears throughout the day. So make sure you read the first pinned comment, and then I will share how this wears throughout the day. So maybe I'll just use this as my foundation then, the skin tint as my foundation, and I'll skip my Naked Sundays and I'll just put a little bit of concealer. Let me put a little here where I have this red hyperpigmentation today. Not bad. I'm not gonna do my under eyes because I wanna use this new RMS concealer. I'm gonna use it on one eye and compare it to maybe my Kosas. But this is really pretty. I'll link it down below. I'm not gonna take the time to, you know, hold up each product really close to the camera in this, since I wanna just talk to you about what I eat, some health issues and things that might help you. But I will link makeup down below. But I figured since it's a beauty channel, even though I'm talking about beauty from the inside out, basically, of what we eat and how I've fixed some major health issues, I figured I would just do makeup at the same time. I'm gonna add a little loose powder over this just so that I can continue with my makeup, and we'll see how it sets it. All right, so back in April, the end of April, no, it was the beginning of April, excuse me, I went and had my normal, like, routine yearly physical. When I got my labs back, my A1C was 5.8 or 5.9. I'll pop it up on the screen if I'm giving you the wrong number. And that's high. That's considered pre-diabetes. And normally, I went back to my labs from the past like 15, 20 years, because since I'm prior military, I go to the VA oftentimes, or sometimes I just use my husband's insurance. But since I am considered 60% disabled by, you know, from the military after what happened to my neck, I do get my health care now with the VA, which is nice. So if I didn't have my husband's insurance, thankfully I would still get my health benefits. I'm just using this Makeup by Mario. I despised this when I first got it because it stayed kind of wet and tacky, but now I love this as my eyeshadow primer. This is what I'm using every single day as the most perfect eyeshadow primer ever. And look, it's got like this creamy coverage to it, so it will cover if you have any, you know, veins or blue or spots or anything. You could just use this as your eyeshadow. I mean, it is an eyeshadow, but I don't necessarily love it as an eyeshadow, because then if I put an eyeliner or even eyeshadow as an eyeliner, it'll like stick up there. So it needs something powder over it on me to make it set. And so I use it as my eyeshadow primer, and I absolutely love this. So anyways, it was my hemoglobin A1C, and it was elevated, and it's always been, I went back and looked at my labs like for the past 15, 20 years, and my A1C has always been around 4.9, and then it stayed steady at like 5.1, which is normal. But once you get to, I think it's either 5.7 or 5.8, or maybe 5.9, I'll pop the number up on the screen, I forget. Once you get to that number, it's considered pre-diabetes, and sometimes doctors are like, oh, we need to put you on metformin and blah, blah, blah. And if you've watched my channel long enough, you'll know that I actually do not like to take medicine. I don't take anything daily. I try to heal my body the natural way, either with my food, with exercise, or sometimes even with supplements. I have seen a nice change in my labs with doing that. I do take something for pain every now and then for my neck, but as far as taking something on the daily, I absolutely do not. And neither does my husband. He's 10 years older than me, and he doesn't take anything on the daily either. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with medicine, but I feel like most of the doctors I've gone to, they are just basically pushers of medication. And I worked in the hospital. That's what I did, and that was my military career before I became an instructor for the medical course. I'm gonna get to the story. I'm being a total girl telling like 12 stories at once. But in fact, the doctor I spoke to yesterday, she's a new doctor for me. We actually talked for over an hour, and she's like, oh my gosh, I know I probably have a patient waiting, but she, you know, we were enjoying our conversation with each other. We had so much in common. And she's 10 years older than me, but she told me that she's like, I'm a doctor. I can prescribe whatever I want. She said, but I don't, because she said, I'm just gonna be honest. She said, it's a big money maker. And she was telling me how specifically HRT. She said she has a friend that runs an HRT clinic who's a doctor. And she said, and she's already told her, it's a huge money-making industry, just like GLP-1. And I don't take anything for my hormones. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with HRT. I mean, I hear people say it's changed their life, so I'm not saying don't take it. This was just what one doctor was telling me, that she says that, you know, her mom didn't take anything, she never took anything. Same with me, I never took anything, my mom didn't, my grandma didn't. And then the other thing she told me, she said, now I haven't researched this on my own, but she was saying that they only have like 5 years of research or whatever. So she said, we don't know long-term effects of cancer, things like that, especially in men or women. So she said she'll prescribe like estrogen cream for, you know, the nether regions for dryness, things like that. But she said as far as like pellets, injections, all of that, the patch, she said she could prescribe it, but she feels like with the research that, you know, and she said, and I have lots of research on it, and, you know, her best friend does this for a living, but she said she just doesn't agree. So I don't know. So I liked her because she wasn't one that was like, here, take medicine, take medicine, take medicine. But when I told her how I actually have reversed my menopause symptoms by what I'm eating, she was very intrigued, because she told me, well, she doesn't know a whole lot about nutrition and different ways of eating, because she said that's not something that they really spend time on in school. So she was asking if I've seen a neurosurgeon about my neck, since I already have a previous surgery. But I made it very clear I don't want surgery. I'll do whatever I have to do to prevent it. And so she, of course, agreed with me. And she's like, well, then I'd rather us try physical therapy first. I'll still do the neurology consult, but let's try everything else we can, you know, to try to reduce that compaction and that narrowing of what's going on in my neck. So I just really liked her because we had a lot in common. She wasn't instantly like the civilian doctor that I've seen. I was with my husband, and every little thing my husband would say as a 61-year-old man, nothing even like serious, but every little thing, the doctor's like, oh, I've got a medicine for that if you want. And my husband and I are looking at each other like, no, he doesn't want medicine. He's, you know, unless you need it, like, why are we trying to push medicine for every little thing? Like, if you have a headache, you don't need to instantly go reach for Excedrin migraine or Tylenol. Or now, if it's a migraine, yes, that's a whole different thing. But like my mother-in-law, if she wakes up with the slightest headache, she instantly wants medicine. And it's like, well, why don't you just drink your cup of coffee first? Let's just, you know, give it a few. And sometimes if she doesn't get the medicine right away, her headache's gone anyways. So, and I'm the same. Sometimes I wake up, well, every day I wake up. I always have headaches. But every day I wake up with a headache. I don't instantly rush to take pills, because I know that sometimes it just is going to go away on its own. Especially for me, a lot of times it's positional, the way I'm sleeping. This doctor, I really liked that she was more about how to heal the body naturally. And so we were talking about the weight gain, and she saw that I've lost 12 pounds since I was there. And she asked, she said, well, how are you doing it? She said, I've got so many women your age coming in here, and they're like in tears at what their body is betraying them and doing to them with this rapid weight gain in peri and in menopause. And they instantly are like, just give me HRT. And she's like, well, maybe we could figure out a different way. So she was asking me questions about what I'm doing. I'll do a follow-up in 6 months. She's gonna check my A1C again in 6 months, because this is a challenge for me now to see, you know, we use skincare. It's a challenge for me to see how I can change my skin, how I can manage my melasma, how I can keep my skin firm, healthy, glowy. That's fun and interesting to me, to see how our body is so amazing and how we can do things to change the way our body, you know, our skin looks on the outside. But it's a challenge for me now to see that, okay, I can easily lose weight. And let me tell you some of the other health things that I had. Oh, and by the way, so I'll just tell you right now, my A1C dropped down to 5.4. So was it 5.4 or 5.6? I'm gonna pop it right here, but it dropped 0.2 or 0.3. but that's huge in 2 months. So my last A1C was done in April, but I didn't start eating this way. I mean, in fact, after I got my labs done in April, my husband and I went to a Mexican restaurant. We had like 2 baskets of chips and salsa. I had 2 margaritas. They weren't like skinny margaritas. It was just like whatever they had. And then we went to Vegas with my mother-in-law for her birthday. And of course I was eating, you know, French fries, burgers, and you know, I eat a lot of healthy foods also. I love fruits and vegetables, but my diet was a lot of like carbs, protein, a little bit of fat. And I even bought some candy, like licorice or some Sour Patch Kids or something like that on the airplane. So my diet was just, I was like, okay, I know I'm gonna start this diet. So I was like, let me just go a little crazy for a little bit. So I did not start eating this way. And I don't even like to call it a diet because I eat like the best foods, which I'm gonna share foods that I eat and why this is so easy for me to eat this way. But I didn't start on this journey until it was June, the end of June, maybe around June 20th. I have it on my calendar, but it was about June 20th. And so since June 20th, so even though my A1C was checked in April, I think it takes 3 to 4 months before your A1C can actually change. And that's the big indicator. You know, your glucose can, if you're not fasting, your glucose can be, you know, whatever, 100, 120. Mine's always below 100. So it wasn't necessarily my glucose that was a concern. It was my A1C, which that's an indicator of pre-diabetes and insulin resistance for me. So when I started eating like this in June, I've lost the weight since the end of June. So June, July, August, so almost 3 months I've lost this weight. Now I did do this, it's keto that I'm doing, but it's more so keto-vor because it's more meat than I used to eat when I did keto. Now I did keto probably 8 years ago for about a year, and I wasn't overweight then. I was still healthy, but since it was kind of like all the rage back then, I was like, oh, let me try it. And my husband and I, we lost, I don't know, 15 pounds, something like that. But then we got bored eating like that, and we wanted to have popcorn, you know, pizza, stuff like that, and bread when we're traveling to different countries. And since we weren't overweight, it wasn't a big deal to us. But now, in my opinion, I am overweight now, and I'm gonna continue with my makeup while I'm chatting. So I'm just gonna test out this concealer. I'm just gonna try a little bit right under my eyes and see. Normally I like to do my concealer after eyeshadow. Ooh, this is kind of serum-y. Let's just see. It came with a brush. Well, actually I had to buy the brush separately. Let's just try the brush. I don't really love the brush, but I mean, it does have some decent coverage. But let me just pat this out. We'll see what this looks like in the very end. I'm just gonna use this ColourPop Going Coconuts eyeshadow palette while I'm chatting with you. So how it all started is, I don't know, like 3-4 years ago, I didn't lose this weight, or I didn't gain the weight overnight. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I noticed I started just gaining weight. And back in the day, if I would gain like a couple pounds, I didn't really ever weigh myself all the time, but I would notice like if my pants felt tighter or whatever. So if I felt like I had gained a little bit of weight, all I would do is just, you know, eat kind of healthy for a couple days and I would lose it. Like, it was always so easy for me to lose weight. I've always been, you know, fairly skinny and of a normal weight all my life. I was actually extremely skinny when I was younger. So maybe like 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I noticed I just started gaining weight. And at first, you know, my husband, he's Latin, so he was like, ooh, yeah. But I was like, I'm not really loving the way I'm feeling in my clothes. And so I've always had a really flat stomach. I have thicker thighs and, you know, bigger booty. And I always had very small breasts also. Like, I was like a 32B, always. And now I'm like a 32H. I got measured. I don't enjoy these girls at all. So I'm kind of excited that these are gonna go down too. But so I just started slowly gaining the weight over about 5 years. And then I started getting a little pooch, like a little tummy. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've always had a flat stomach. Like, I could pig out for the day, but then I'd wake up the next morning and boop, super flat stomach again. But then this time I noticed, like, wait a minute, my stomach's not going down. Like, this is strange. You know, I always had a lot of really pretty definition in my shoulders, and because I was always very active and exercising. And now, I mean, they're just like getting chubby. I even see like cellulite on them. But even when I was skinny, by the way, for me, cellulite is like a hereditary thing. Even when I was super skinny in high school and active, you know, we were on the drill team and dancing all the time, and I ran around as a kid. I was always active. I always had a little bit of cellulite as a kid on my legs. You know, my mom has it, my sister has it. But I noticed, you know, 5 years ago, I was like, my arms aren't as firm as they used to be. And back then I was doing Pilates and things like that. And it was weird how it just kind of, my body was slowly making these changes. And then when I'd say, okay, well, let me try to eat a few salads for a few days, or I'll fast or do whatever, intermittent fasting, which that used to work wonders for me. When I would do it this time, I was like not losing the weight. And I was like, this is interesting. Well, it's because I didn't know enough, my body, you know, in perimenopause, I didn't realize what was happening. So I just was like, oh, well, I guess, you know, that's the joys of getting older, you know. And I just kind of blew it off, eating my normal diet. And again, you know, I would still eat fairly healthy. In fact, I even, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, my husband and I wanted to try going vegan, not because how other vegans are vegan because of the way they feel about animals. I love animals, like I love dogs. I'm not gonna eat a dog, but I love cows also, but I'm gonna eat a cow. I love meat. I just feel like I was born and raised to be a meat eater. And so we still tried being vegan, not because of what, you know, like I said, why vegans do. We just wanted to see, like, how could our bodies change if we're vegan? And I came up with some really amazing, neat recipes using all vegan type foods. But we did it for maybe like 6 months. And the only thing different I noticed when I had gone to the doctor, my cholesterol was really, really low, but my A1C was slowly starting to rise, my hemoglobin A1C. And back then, again, I still never put 2 and 2 together. So we stopped vegan and went back to just normal way of eating. For the most part, we eat fairly healthy, but I still just kept gaining my weight. Something else interesting, when I had a physical about, I'd say 2-3 years ago with a civilian doctor using my husband's insurance, he said, and I wish I would have done the research then. And this is the same doctor that tries to prescribe every medication to my husband. He said, were you fasting? Did you put, I said, well, I had black coffee this morning. And he said, well, that's fine before your fasting labs. He said, you didn't put sugar in your coffee? And I said, no, Didn't think anything of it, and I didn't even pay attention to my labs. Little did I know, this was 2-3 years ago, that my A1C was already creeping up to be pre-diabetic. And I didn't even pay attention to that, and I should have when he mentioned that, and he didn't even say, well, this is why I'm wondering, blah, blah, blah. He didn't even say anything. But one thing I did bring up to him then is because that's when I had developed the worst plantar fasciitis. My feet and my ankles, I was in so much pain to where, like, I even fell down a couple times when I would stand up because it was excruciating pain. And I have a very high pain tolerance. I talk about that all the time. Like in the military, I'd let my students practice really large IVs on me. You know, it didn't bother me. I have a high pain tolerance. So I mentioned to him, because I had started reading a little bit and hearing what doctors were saying about what perimenopause symptoms can happen in the body. And I told him, I said, all of a sudden, I just out of the blue got this horrible plantar fasciitis. I was in so much pain. He sent me to, the foot doctor. I had to out of pocket spend like $600 for these like stupid insoles that did nothing for my feet. And just all this money. I've changed the shoes I've worn. I can't even wear my cute heels or wedges or sandals anymore. I have to wear like Hoka tennis shoes and those ugly OOFOS, and to do whatever I have to do because my feet got so bad. I told the doctor at the time, I said, I don't know where this horrible plantar fasciitis came from out of the blue. I said, but I'm also having like hot flashes all the time. I've got this, all of a sudden, this belly that's just grown over the past couple years. I said, I think this is perimenopause causing all these symptoms in my body because of inflammation. And he said, perimenopause, hormones don't cause plantar fasciitis and don't cause the belly weight and all of that. I was thinking to myself, like, well, he is the doctor. Maybe he knows what he's talking about. But then when I went back home and I started researching, and I'm like, wait, no, I think that this is where my plantar fasciitis is coming from. So fast forward to this past April when I went to my new VA doctor, because normally I see the VA in Florida. And so I got transferred to the Texas VA just so I can, you know, they have to, if you're a member of the VA, you got to do like your physicals and mammograms and all that good stuff. So, and that's when the doctor sat me down. She's like, we got your labs, you're pre-diabetic, you're insulin resistant, you've gained, I think I've gained like 40 some pounds like over the past few years. And that's a lot for me. Now I am kind of tall, I'm almost 5'8". I used to be 5'8", but I think with my neck surgery, I shrunk a little. So I am taller. So, you know, in my opinion, I'm like, man, I'm chubby. You know, my husband, we laugh about it. He's like, it's okay, I like it. I like a thick girl. I'm not the type of person, like I don't obsess about my weight at all. Like I'm not thrilled with the weight gain, but it doesn't, like I don't lose sleep over it. Because in my mind, I'm like, I can lose that weight, but I don't wanna lose the weight necessarily because I wanna look cute in my clothes, because I'm not even into fashion at all. Like I'm a jeans, t-shirt, tennis shoes, baseball hat kind of girl, and I, you know, sometimes I'll wear a dress, but since I can't wear cute heels and stuff anymore, it's, to me, I don't really reach for my dresses because, you know, my feet have kind of been giving me issues until recently. So the doctor's like, we need to set you up with a nutritionist, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, and then we're gonna test your A1C again. I was supposed to have it tested in October, but since my neck is acting up, that's why they went ahead and just kind of combined the doctor's appointments. So it really threw me for a loop, like, and then I started looking at past labs and I'm like, my golly, I didn't become insulin resistant and I didn't get pre-diabetes overnight. Like this has been going on for probably 3 or 4 years and the symptoms have been there, but other doctors were ignoring me and I just kind of blew them off. And so one of the biggest things that I noticed, that of course now I know what it was from, but I, out of the blue, about maybe 1.5 years, 2 years ago, out of the blue, I got these little clusters of very flat, not big hanging skin tags, but they were super flat, like around here, around my armpits, and right on my inner thighs. And I thought my inner thighs was just because, like, I was like, yeah, baby got some meat down there. Her thighs are rubbing together, causing the skin tags, which yes, friction can cause skin tags, but it was literally like overnight I woke up and, you know, I always do like lymphatic drainage and stuff, and I was like, what are these little and I looked in a zoom in mirror, because again, they're not like those big hanging skin tags. It was just very thin, small, but they were clusters, like maybe 20 around here and, you know, 30 around here. And I thought, this is really weird. And then on the back of my neck, I felt, now there was no change in coloration. There wasn't that darker change that you can instantly see when somebody is an undiagnosed diabetic, where their neck gets darker and they get the skin tags, but enough to where I'm aware of things going on in my body. And I felt like on the back of my neck, I was like, wow, there's like a weird cluster of, and they were skin tags. But I didn't put 2 and 2 together back then. I just thought, I guess that's just part of aging. And then of course my belly was just getting bigger and bigger. And I was like, what the heck? Like when I'd brush my teeth, instead of leaning forward, if I was like looking in a zoom in to make sure, you know, everything was like perfect on my teeth, I'd look down and I'm like, oh, my tummy's resting on the sink as I'm flossing or doing this. And none of it, I just thought, well, I'm just getting older and these are the things that happen. But I didn't realize that that's like a major symptom, is getting clusters of new moles or new skin tags, of letting you know, warning, warning, warning. What is it? Danger, Will Robinson. I was pre-diabetic and did not even know. And then I think my doctor was thinking that, but he didn't even tell me what he was thinking, other than, did you put sugar? Have you been putting sugar in your morning coffee? Which I don't. So the other thing was that I told my doctor also, I said, my ankles are starting to swell and my feet. I said, I've never had this before. And it would just kind of come, like, I wouldn't have it for 6 months, and then out of the blue, I would start having swollen ankles and swollen feet. Like I had little sausage toes. I was like, what? Where's this coming from? And he's like, oh, it's just probably from you gaining weight or maybe eating too much salt. And back then I wasn't always salting, you know, my food and things like that. And he's like, or, you know, if you have alcohol or whatever. And so I thought, oh, okay, well, I guess that's what it's from. Blew it off. And then I would even push like on my shin bone sometimes, like I wouldn't visually see the swelling on my feet or ankles, but I'd push on my like shin bone and I'd have like a pitting edema, which is like, so look down on your shin bone close to your ankle, and when you're just sitting on the sofa or whatever, put your legs up and push on it. If you push on your skin, push, you know, kind of hard on the bone, and then let go after, I don't know, a few seconds, and if that indentation of your finger is still there, that is also a sign of pre-diabetes that I didn't know about. But all my doctors were always just like, whatever, just blowing me off. Now, just to say, I don't go to the doctor that often, like once a year. I do my physical, and then I also see my neurologist that does my injections for my migraines. But I had all of these symptoms. So the reason I'm telling you this is because if you have any of these types of symptoms, again, I'm 53 now, but this all started around 49, 50, 51. If you have any of these symptoms, and you're just thinking, oh, I don't know what it is, it's my diet. I mean, I hear women say, I have dropped my calorie intake so low, and I can't figure out why I'm still gaining weight. Even the doctor yesterday, she admitted she doesn't really know a whole lot about nutrition, and she told me, she said, yeah, I've just keep slowly, progressively gaining and gaining and gaining no matter what I do. And so she said, you know, calories in versus calories out. And so she said, so now she was telling me, she said, all I eat is a big bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, and then I have an apple for lunch, and I don't eat anything else the rest of the day. She said, and I might have one glass of wine at night. And I didn't want to be like, oh my gosh, that's terrible, because I was her patient and I just was listening. And she's like, but I just, you know, I'm thinking since I'm eating high fiber and all of that, she said, and my calories are so low, she goes, I can't figure out why I'm still gaining. And that, I think, is a problem that a lot of women are dealing with. They're like distraught over the fact that they're starving to death and they're still gaining weight and they can't figure out what it is. I'm just not even putting on my makeup. I'm just talking away. So especially the reason why I said, you know what, enough is enough, because my mother-in-law, she's 93, and I don't have children, and you know, she has 5 children, but she's now in like an assisted living type place. But I don't want to be to where, if the good Lord lets me live that long, if the rapture doesn't happen before then, I don't want to be to where somebody has to help me go to the bathroom every time, where somebody has to open the lid on my water bottle, where I can't even stand up on my own. I do not ever want to be like that. I'm not saying that it won't happen, and if the good Lord allows me to live a good, healthy life, I pray for that, but I also have to do something about it. But I want to stay active. I'm not going to sit on the sofa as a retired person and watch TV all day long. I want to keep moving my body and stay active, and also try to eat right, to do whatever I can do, because my body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. And I don't want to take this body for granted, and then when it's too late say, oh my golly, I wish back then I would have done this, or I wish back then I would have, you know, not eaten candy all the time, or whatever it is, the issue that, you know, you could be dealing with. But just even my mom, I get on her case sometimes, because she'll just kind of hang out with my dad. They sit around now that they're retired. She'll do like crossword puzzles. She likes to do things that really keep her brain healthy. My mom is super smart. But I'm like, Mom, you've got to move your body. You have to do stuff, like get up and do some squats, do something, because she was on the floor organizing something. And she's like, would you believe, and she's only, what, 21 years older than me. She's like, would you believe I couldn't get up off the floor? And I was like, yeah, that's horrible. If you cannot get yourself up off the floor without having somebody help you up, you've got to strengthen your legs, your core, like, you've got to do something. Because I said, well, Mom, if it's like that now, it's going to be even worse. You're going to, you know, end up being like my husband's mom. You don't, because then once you get to that point, it's very difficult. And it's very difficult to reverse that. His mom does physical therapy every day. They have her do like the exercise bike. But again, she, you know, she can't get out of the car without, you know, us helping her. You know, she's not a small woman. So my husband already has a bad back, and I can't really even bend forward properly. So I'm not trying to do anything to mess up my neck right now until this inflammation in my neck heals. I don't want to be like that when I'm older. So that's why I'm always telling my mom, get it together. I don't care if you just do 5 squats, just hang on to the wall or the counter and just do 5. And even if you can only go down a little bit the first day, guess what? You did something. And then the next day do 6. And then the next day do 7. Don't put in some DVD or whatever on YouTube and do some hour-long intense exercise the first time you decide to start exercising again, because guess what? You are going to be in pain and then you won't exercise again for years. Just do a little bit. Same thing with me when I go down to the gym in this apartment that we're staying in. When I first started going, I don't know, a couple years ago, a year ago, I was like so out of breath because I really had been lazy and hadn't been working out, and I was so out of breath. And so my husband said, you know what, honey? He said, don't try to do 20, 30 minutes on the elliptical or the Stairmaster. He said, just do a minute. And so I was like, you know what, that's what I'm gonna do. So I did, I think, 3 minutes the first day, and I was like, whoo, got my workout in. But then the next day I did 4 minutes. And then the next day I did 5 minutes. And then I've worked my way up to do about 20 to 30 minutes, and I do some light weights, things like that. I love walking. I stopped doing the treadmill and just walk everywhere. I mean, I can walk miles and miles and miles. I love to walk. But since this weird plantar fasciitis just came out of the blue to where my feet are in so much pain, I couldn't even do, like, I would be barely able to walk for days if I got on the treadmill. So for me, it was the elliptical and the Stairmaster. But my point is since I had let my body get so out of shape, it was very challenging for me. And of course, since I don't enjoy it, it was very challenging for me to even get back into it. What is the saying? How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. And that's basically what, if you're being a lazy butt like what I was, not exercising and not eating right, don't try to fix everything in one day. Just take little baby steps. And so you eat an elephant, not all at once, 1 bite at a time. And that's kind of how I had to look at exercise. And that's probably what's gonna happen once I get this MRI and start physical therapy, and then I start, working out in the gym again. I'm not gonna be able to jump on the elliptical for 30 minutes again. I will probably keel over and not be able to breathe. I will probably start out again at like 3 minutes for the first day. Okay, I achieved something. 4 minutes the next day, 5 minutes the next day. Or if you don't have a gym, that's also no excuse. Just work out in your house. Like I just went to Ross or whatever, or no, I got it on Amazon. I have one from Ross, but I found a really thick yoga mat that I like. And so I do stretches, or I'll do my like Pilates little routines at home. And so find a way to work out. So for me, I have to do very low impact. I can't do bouncing. I used to love riding mountain bikes and stuff. I can't do that because all that bouncing shakes my neck, and then I'm in this situation that I'm in. So do whatever you can for your health, but we have to move our bodies, ladies. I mean, we have to. Even though I don't enjoy working out, I feel so good afterwards. But sometimes working out, I've heard of so many women say, I work out all the time. I'm in the gym all day long, and I'm still gaining and gaining and gaining. It could be a metabolic syndrome. It could be because of what's going on in our bodies, especially with our hormones, perimenopause and menopause. So with me giving you that whole history, just to kind of give you an idea, I started eating a keto diet. And some people are like, what is keto? Basically what it means is I eat a high fat, moderate protein, and very low carb diet. Now when I did keto like 8 years ago, I would say I wasn't as strict as I am now. I never cheated. That's one thing I will say with keto. You can't eat like this for 6, 7, 8 days and then decide, ooh, I'm gonna go have pizza, popcorn, and some French fries, and then tomorrow I'll get back on keto. You can't do that. That's one thing with keto. So think of a marriage. If you cheat, it will not work, and that's how keto is. It's not gonna work. You have to wait for your body to get into ketosis, and that just doesn't happen overnight. And so some people are like, what do you mean you eat a lot of fat? I'm gonna explain what I eat in a minute. But basically, when you're pre-diabetic, or even if you're not pre-diabetic, if you're just gaining weight, especially around your midsection, and you're having any of those symptoms that I talked about, our glucose, the sugar in our body, I won't go into the whole details because I know some people are like, oh, that's so boring going into insulin and glucose and what it does in our cells. Basically, instead of my body using sugar for fuel, because what's happening is it's just not. It's when you're pre-diabetic, it's just kind of hanging out in the bloodstream, causing a lot of issues, and it's not being used properly. So what is happening now, I'm trying to turn on my body to now use fat as fuel, and it'll basically eat up the sugar, and it will start eating my stored fat, especially the fat that's not just visible on my stomach, but there's probably fat around my liver. I don't want my body to use the sugar as fuel, because when you're insulin resistant, the sugar doesn't get used the right way. It doesn't burn off the right way, the glucose. And so now I'm switching things in my body. Hang on, I gotta hurry, because this, what I just put on my brows, this glue, it will set my brows like this if I don't get it in the position I want. So basically, I want my body to now use fat as fuel, which is very healthy for someone in prediabetes, in my opinion. Again, I'm not giving you medical advice, but it's healthy for me, because this is what has allowed me to lose the weight. I know some people are like, oh, keto just seems so confusing. I don't do it because I can't figure out how to eat. Again, I will show you what I eat in the end. It's so easy. And I'll just tell you basically what we buy at the grocery store, how easy it is. And I eat really good food, by the way. This is not like a diet where you're like, oh, I'm so restricted. I can't eat what I want. Like, I eat what I want. It's so amazing. And I'm losing weight. In the beginning, I always say eat whatever you want, just focus on your carbs. If you're like, I don't know how to calculate macros and how to calculate protein and carbs and fat and all of that, there's apps that you can download and things like that on your phone. But just to make it easy, just look up what the carb content is. And for me, I keep my carbs under 15 to 20 a day. Now, just so you know, a banana has more carbs than that. So yes, I could eat a plate of bacon if I wanted, which I'm not a huge bacon fan, but I can't have a banana on keto. There was some meme I saw. The kid was like, side-eyeing the guy. He's like, you can eat a plate of bacon, but you can't have a banana and you're losing weight. And he was side-eyeing him. And it's like, yeah, that's how this works. Because a banana, even though it's natural sugar, it's still sugar. And when you become pre-diabetic, like what I was, I'm not anymore, but when you become pre-diabetic and your insulin is resistant and your A1C is too high, a banana will keep your body in that state of the sugar just hanging out in your bloodstream, instead of using my fat as fuel and melting the fat off of my body. And so basically that's what's happening now. The fat is just slowly melting off of my body, because now I keep my sugars and my carbs so low. Now, when I did keto probably 8-9 years ago, I never cheated. I didn't say, oh, let's go have popcorn today, because again, that throws your body out of that state of fat, using your fat as energy, and now it's using those carbs as energy, and then it takes a good 7, 8, 9 days, depending on your metabolism, to get you back into that state. So for me, I don't want that yo-yo effect just so that I can have popcorn or a piece of regular bread made with flour and all that. So I don't cheat at all. So for me, a cheat day would be maybe having 30 carbs, or having a homemade ice cream that's, made without sugar, but with full fat, heavy cream. That would be a cheat meal or whatever for me. So I'm still in that state of ketosis. My body's still burning my fat to melt the fat off my body, because it's not being fueled with sugars anymore. But the calories, of course, would be higher if I'm eating a homemade ice cream. And so maybe I would kind of not lose the weight. I might stall on my weight loss, but I'm still in that state of my fat is being used as fuel versus sugar. I hope that makes sense. But when I did keto, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, whenever my husband and I did it, I was not this strict. Some days I would have 30 carbs for the day, but now I am trying to be really strict about it. And I pretty much, oh, and also back then I was counting net carbs. So what that means, now I'm just doing total carbs, no more than 15 to 20 total carbs for the most part every day. And back then with net carbs, what that means is, say you have, we'll just say it's a packaged keto product, which I don't eat a lot of processed stuff. I eat whole foods, real foods. But back then I would eat a lot more packaged foods that are like, oh, this is keto. And it would say, for example, it would say 10 total carbs, and then it would have 7 grams of fiber in it. And oftentimes it was added fiber in these packaged foods, not natural fiber. But so what you do is you just subtract the fiber or the sugar alcohols from the carbs, and that's how you come up with your net carbs. So that's how I did it 8 years ago. I would eat whatever, even if it said, oh, there's 10 total carbs, but there's only 3 net carbs because it has 7 grams of added fiber. And I still was, like I said, I was able to lose weight, but I bet I would have lost a ton more if I didn't do a lot of the packaged stuff and just stuck with whole foods. And even like vegetables, I can't eat, I don't eat potatoes, I don't eat sweet potatoes because those are too high in carbs. And I don't really miss them, to be honest. I mean, I guess it'd be nice to have a basket of fries, but my health, the way I feel now, I mean, I will skip fries for the rest of my life to feel as amazing as I do now. But for example, I can have very low carb food. So for example, I could have broccoli, and broccoli has natural fiber. So whatever the total carbs is and the amount of broccoli that you're eating, you just subtract the natural fiber that's in it, and that gives you your net carbs. But for me, since I was pre-diabetic and I was like, oh heck no, now I understand what's been going on with my body. I do not want to be diabetic, period. I don't want that. Especially since type 2 diabetes, if you have type 2 diabetes, you can control it with your diet. Now, my mom is type 2 diabetic and she never knew any of this. And so now she does take insulin and all of that. I don't want to do that. I do not want to live my life having to take medicine and check my sugars every day. That's why I got very aggressive when they told me I was borderline, at the pre-diabetic mark. That's why I don't necessarily do 15 to 20 net carbs every day for the most part. Some days I do on a cheat day. I will pretty much only do 15 to 20 carbs, period. And if you're starting out, you don't have to be as strict as I am, because I know for some people they're like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna live without eating my bowl of cereal or my oatmeal or eating peaches or watermelon, because that's all high sugar, high carb foods. So if you are struggling, in my opinion, I say eat whatever you want. Of course, that's high fat, moderate protein, low carb. Eat whatever you want until your body starts to adjust, because first of all, you're gonna get so full. And the reason why is because that fat content, you are gonna be stuffed after eating that. I used to be able to, when I was young and super skinny, we weren't allowed to eat like sugar cereal growing up. We could have honeycomb every now and then, but for the most part, my dad would always be like, oh, you're gonna have sugar for breakfast? So we grew up eating fairly healthy, I guess. But when I got out on my own, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna buy Pop-Tarts and cereal. I could literally eat a whole box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch in one sitting. And then like 2 hours later, I'd be starving again, because that's not nutrition. that doesn't fuel our body. On this way of eating now, I have to sometimes force myself to eat, which is weird because I am a foodie. I love food. I love tasting different foods. And now sometimes it's like, oh darn, I need to eat. And I'm just not hungry, because since my body now uses the fat as fuel and I'm in that fat burning mode, I just don't need to eat that much. So I don't even have to count calories and things like that now, but of course you could. Or if you feel like you're at that stall, if you're like, man, I hit a plateau, I'm just not losing the weight, you might want to get serious and really count your calories, your protein, your carbs, your every little thing that you're eating. And then you might be like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I'm actually going over my calories by like 300-400 calories every day and not even realizing it. So some people, it is very beneficial to count your macros, count every little ounce that you're eating. But for me, that's kind of time consuming and I'm too lazy to do that all the time. But that's something I have done when I feel like I might stall. I realize, oh, I was adding too much heavy cream in that coffee, and so that kind of threw me over with too many calories, especially now since I'm not able to work out the way I used to. So, do you know what I just did? I'm talking and I never put my glue on this brow. So I'm like, why isn't this brow turning out the way this one is? See, that's what happens, Sherry, when you talk and try to do makeup at the same time. Let's see if I can fix it by now putting the glue over top. Let me just finish it and then I'll finish my story, because I want to tell you guys how I've completely healed all of those physical symptoms I was having. I'm actually putting a hat on today, so I really didn't need to put that much concealer on my forehead. This skin tint, it's actually kind of nice. It dried down. Of course I powdered it, but It doesn't cover, fully cover my melasma, so I'm just using my all-time favorite face concealer. I don't really like it under my eyes because it's a little too thick, but this is from Ciel. This is their SPF 50 concealer, and this is perfection if you have melasma or a pimple, hyperpigmentation, and you want to cover it, because not only is it a full coverage, beautiful concealer, but it's got the mineral sunscreen in it, so it's like a double whammy, and it will heal your imperfections even faster because the UV can't penetrate through this the way a regular concealer can. So this is my favorite for my face. So it's been almost 3 months, because I think it was around June 20th, maybe it was the June 25th, but anyways, it's been almost 3 months now, just under 3 months, and those skin tags, those little newly formed patches of skin tags that I grew, they're gone, completely gone. I never went to the doctor to have them removed. I never put some special cream I found on Amazon that says it will magically remove your skin tags. I never did any of that, you guys. I just started eating this way and cutting out sugar and making my carbs no more than 15 to 20 every day, and those skin tags are gone. Like, gone. So you can't tell me that skin tags are only caused from friction. No, that's what happens when your body is insulin resistant and you have all that glucose hanging out in your bloodstream. It causes so much inflammation in the body, and it triggers so many health issues that I feel like so many doctors are not telling us about. And if I wasn't someone who always wanted to study and research and find out why certain things happen and look into the natural cures for things, I probably would still be pre-diabetic, or by now I'd probably be diabetic if I was still eating the way I was. I would probably still have skin tags. I would have so many more health issues, and I'd, be taking metformin and all of these silly medications that clearly I don't need now, because I was able to heal myself literally in less than 3 months. Now, I'm not gonna start eating my old way again. I'm gonna continue eating this way, because don't think that you can be like, okay, skin tags are gone, A1C is back to normal, now let's go get a burger and fries and a milkshake. Like, that's not how it works, unfortunately. I'm not willing to risk my health just so I can have some French fries, unfortunately. So if food is important to you, which it's so important to me, I love food and I love creating recipes, this is actually so easy. It's so easy for me to do. But not only have my skin tags completely disappeared, I don't get hot flashes anymore. I do not get hot flashes anymore. And I don't take HRT. I don't take anything for that. In fact, I have even stopped taking, I've done videos on supplements that I take, and I take quite a bit every day. I used to. And so when I started eating like this, I said, I just want to see what my labs are like if I pretty much stop taking all of my supplements. And I realized that I'm getting a lot of nutrition, not a ton, because I think our soil is so depleted of proper nutrition, but I'm getting so many nutrients and amino acids and all of the good stuff in my meats that I'm eating. And I realized I don't need to spend all that money on supplements. So I do still take, I can do another video and share with you what supplements I absolutely do still take, because there are some that we're just not going to get it from our food, period. This mascara is starting to get thick. I guess I've had it now 3 months. I usually throw out a mascara after 3 months anyways, but it's still pretty. It's just a little bit thicker. I could use my little comb to comb through my lashes, but I'm gonna put a hat on. Nobody's even gonna know what my eyes look like today. So my hot flashes are completely gone. I sleep, oh my gosh, I sleep so amazing. The way I sleep is so deep. And I also have a new sleep supplement though that, oh my gosh, it puts me in like the deepest sleep. It is so amazing. I've recommended it. I've shared it before. Of course, always talk to your doctor before you try anything I try. But everybody that's commenting, they're like, oh my gosh, I was taking prescription medication to sleep, and they're like, I don't have to take it after trying this sleep supplement that you have shared. So I will pop that other video up here if you want information on that and how life-changing this sleep supplement is. Also, the swelling in my ankles and my feet, gone, completely gone. The pitting edema when I would push on my shin bone and then let go of my finger, completely gone. I have no swelling. Also, what has really blown my mind is that plantar fasciitis that has prevented me some days from even walking because it's so painful. It's still there, but you guys, it is so mild. Some days I can, of course I still wear my Hoka tennis shoes, but some days I can walk and walk and walk and walk. If my husband are out exploring, if we're, you know, like on a cruise ship or whatever, and we're out walking and exploring, I can walk for miles and my feet, you know, they'll ache, but it's not that excruciating pain where, I mean, I would lay in bed at night and like hang on to my ankles and, you know, like rocking myself back and forth because the pain was so intense. And I can get up now in the middle of the night, like if I have to pee or whatever in the middle of the night. Before I had to put my special like 𝑽𝑰𝑫𝑬𝑺 squishy flip-flops on. And I don't like to really walk barefoot around the apartment anyways, but I couldn't walk barefoot. Like it was so painful to where, like I said, I've fallen down. That's how painful it is. I don't have those issues anymore. Like I do still have some pain, but plantar fasciitis, itis means inflammation of. So it was so inflamed, and that is one thing with eating the way I'm eating. It's not just about, oh, I'm losing weight, oh, now I can get a smaller size jeans and, you know, my bras, I can start getting smaller bras. That's not why I'm doing this. You guys, I don't have the pains. I don't have this joint pain. I used to have pain in my knees and my ankles. It was horrible. I just had so much joint pain. Now, my neck is a whole different issue. It's not necessarily from inflammation. This is a history, obviously, from what's going on in my neck. There's a degenerative issue going on where things just, you know, my neck is aging, I guess, rapidly. And of course, after this surgery, they kind of messed me up after my surgery. But you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and put this RMS concealer under this eye. So we'll just compare them today. Normally, I like to put concealer on my hand and use a brush, but I like to kind of test it and see what it does under the eye. I don't love their brush, but I like that it's small, but I feel like it's like streaky. Yeah, I don't feel like these are quality fibers. So the concealer is not bad. I'll have to test it out. But as far as the brush, I don't recommend this brush at all. I don't like it. Let me just use my Hourglass brush. Yeah, that lays down much nicer. But it's not a bad concealer. It's not a full coverage. I still think I like my Kosas and my Hourglass concealer under my eyes better, but I really like the ingredients in this, and it's very creamy. But I want to see, I don't like concealers that you're forced to put powder on, because at 53 years old, I don't care. You can't tell me that putting powder under your eyes, even if you do the smallest amount, you cannot convince me that it looks pretty. From far away, you'll be like, oh man, her under eyes look great. But when you zoom in, I don't care. I don't even care if you have oily skin. I have normal to oily skin, and powder under my eyes, I've tried pretty much every one on the market. They look hideous. Hideous. Powders look hideous under my eyes. If you say no, powder looks great under the eye, and you have wrinkles and fine lines and crinkles, I'm just gonna respectfully disagree until you show me a non-filtered, zoomed in video, because I highly disagree. This is my Wet n Wild lip liner stain. It's so hard to find now. It sells out probably. This is in the shade Nude Tights. Okay, they sent me this lip liner. They sent me this eyeshadow palette also. You know, I've actually never tried their eyeshadows. I've bought them for my mom before, but every time I would go into Ulta's, the ColourPop section was like a hot mess. So I've just never bought them, even though I know everybody's raved about them. But they sent me the lip liner. I love the formula of it, but this color, I have a darker lips, even though I put the foundation, the concealer on. This shade, it's actually lighter than my lip border, and it looks hideous on me. So, but I do like the formula of it, but not this shade. I'm gonna use this NYX on my lips. I think I'm gonna share what I eat in a day in the next video, because this video is gonna be long already, and then this way it won't be so ridiculously long for me to film it, so that if you only care about what I eat, then you can watch that next video. Instead of me just doing this video saying, oh, this is what I eat in a day, and people are like, well, why is she eating that? Why does she eat that type of food? I feel like it was more important for me to share my health issues. I didn't start till the very end of June. So that just shows you how quickly we can change our bodies, you know, of course, if it's not that far gone, and how I'm able to do it and lose the weight without a GLP-1. Again, I'm not saying that this is gonna work for everyone. This is just what worked for me. But also I think a lot of times when people say, I did keto and it didn't work for me, I think a lot of people did keto wrong. They're not doing it the right way because they don't fully understand how to do it. And for me, something I've realized this time is mainly, now I do eat some keto snacks, very rarely. If I want a snack, I usually make it homemade with my own ingredients, but for the most part, I eat whole foods. But if you want to see specifics, I can share with you what I eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, and I actually only eat twice a day because I'm just not hungry to eat. And what I try to do is eat breakfast and then a really early dinner. But I used to want to sit around and snack all night. I don't even do that anymore because you're just not hungry. You don't crave snacks, because what this does is it doesn't just change you. A lot of people say, oh, you need counseling to, you know, have a better relationship with food, and you need to teach yourself to look at food in a different way. And sure, that can work for some people, but when you eat this way, it's the mechanisms in your brain that trigger you to want to snack and munch and have, you know, bad foods. It goes away because now your body is being fueled by the fat, and your body is using fat as energy, and it's just you're in fat burning mode. But you have to know how to do keto the right way. I remember when keto was so popular back then, everybody's like, oh, I made these keto French fries out of coconut flour and this and that. And I mean, sure, once in a blue moon if you want to trick yourself to think you're eating French fries, but I will make some keto chocolate chip cookies made out of just almond flour, not regular flour, but almond flour and all good ingredients. But still, when you have those small particle sizes of the almond flour, it's different than if you just eat the whole almond. Or I make cheesecakes. They're more like cheesecake cookies, and those are really good, and they only have a few carbs for each one. So I will make little snacks like that, but for the most part, we don't crave those types of desserts. But if you want to know specifics of what I eat, I will make that in the next video, because this video I really just thought it was so important to share with you how I was able to change the health of my body. Like, I think it's interesting when we can talk about how, oh, this skincare changed my skin, gave me super deep hydration, amazing hydration in one use, and that's great. But what about the rest of our body? Like, are we only focusing on our face and our skin, or are we focusing on the whole overall health of our body? But I eat like the best foods. Even last night was like my cheat meal, and we had chicken wings with not breading, just fried chicken wings, actually in the air fryer, and no, you know, sweetened barbecue sauce, nothing like that on it. We used just a hot sauce that pretty much doesn't have carbs. But I have this new recipe, you guys, making you know how you get those pumpkin spice lattes at Starbucks, which are like 400 calories? I don't eat those, but I made a keto version of a pumpkin cream cold brew. It's so good. I'm just using my CL blush, my sunscreen blush. If you want my recipe for my pumpkin cream cold brew, it is to die for, and it's super low carb. But what I did when I was making it, I added extra heavy cream. If you know making homemade ice cream, you make it with heavy cream. And so then when I tasted it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this tastes like a pumpkin spice ice cream. So that's what I did last night. So I had obviously higher calories, so that was my cheat meal. It was still super low carb, it was high fat, moderate protein, super low carb, so I'm able to have it. But for me, that was a cheat. I felt like I was eating the most decadent, rich pumpkin spice ice cream. It was so good. That's one thing I love to do, is create, you know, different recipes and things like that. Let me just put some of my Giselle on my lips to brighten that up. Then I'm gonna put a smidge on my cheeks, but since this one's so pigmented, I gotta put it on my hand first. My favorite shade, I don't see where it is, but the shade in this called Behati, it's my favorite. I can literally just swipe it, a big glob of it on my cheek and blend it, but look how pigmented this Giselle shade is. It's so pretty. Blush to me changes your whole makeup look. You can just look pale, blah, and then you add some blush and it just brings the skin back to life. I hope that's okay that I share all of the foods and that I eat in another video. And you know, if you guys want more of these videos, I'm happy to share, because again, even though this is a beauty channel, nourishing our bodies, that is huge. That, to me, that's part of beauty. And by the way, I do not like this concealer. It's already getting dry under my eyes, and I didn't necessarily love the color of it anyways. I need a little bronzer, so I bought another. I haven't used this in years. I love these MAC mineralized blushes. Happy Go Rosy and Sweet Enough. Those are my two. Ooh, those are my favorites. But this is called, what is this called? Humor Me. And it's a blush, but sometimes I just like to use it just to kind of bronze up my face. It's super subtle though. It's not like a regular bronzer, but I like the finish of it. Just putting a little bit of my CL. This is their highlighter. Look how pretty that is. And this is also a sunscreen. So if you have melasma on your cheeks or around your face, you know, that's where the sun is hitting us. This is perfect. This makeup is perfect because on top of your regular sunscreen that you use, you're just adding layer after layer. Granted, you're blending it, but still, you can't go wrong having extra sunscreen on your face. Yeah, this under eye concealer, I actually do not like this at all. I'm gonna put a smidge of my Kosas over top to try to like get that hydrated, moisturized, whatever. And I'm gonna put a little of my Neutrogena hydrating primer. And it could just be this lighting because it's not really sunny out today. It's kind of, you know, cloudy, but I'm gonna let this sit, kind of do its thing and marinate together. I'm trying this Pretty Fresh. ColourPop sent me this. It's a Lock It In setting spray with peptides and niacinamide. It's supposed to hold your makeup on for 16 hours, it looks like. So let's just try it. I like how it sprays. It's very fine. Ooh, a super fine mist. We'll just see. I'll let that dry, or I'll go grab my little fan. I'm just gonna clip up my hair. Look how cute these little hair clips are. I got these at H-E-B. I thought these were super duper cute, but I'm gonna, like I said, I'll wear my hair in a little braid and I'm gonna put a baseball hat on. Also, really quickly, I know someone's gonna say, yeah, but what about your cholesterol? I've actually had high cholesterol, which is weird. I went back, I mean, it's not weird considering, you know, it's hereditary for me and the things that I used to eat, but I've had high cholesterol now for I've had high cholesterol now for probably about 7 or 8 years. And even when I was eating healthier and mostly fruits and vegetables and very lean protein, I still had higher cholesterol. And then I took a supplement and that's what dropped it. And they made me go to the cardiologist and all that. And he did the calcium test and I think it was 2, whatever it was, but I know it was really good. The cardiologist was like, I'm not concerned, especially since he saw that I was able to drop my cholesterol with the supplements that I took. But like I said, I've stopped taking those. That was just something temporarily I did to lower my cholesterol. So when I had my labs tested back in April, my cholesterol was high again, just with my normal diet and exercising and all of that. But I didn't want to take the supplements again. I wanted to see, like, let me see what my cholesterol does. So my cholesterol is still high, but it actually lowered by a couple points with me eating higher fat. One would think it would go even higher, but it's actually a little lower. So since it's still so new with me eating this way, she's gonna test it again in 6 months because I wanna see if, especially once I'm able to start exercising again, so I wanna see what my cholesterol will do in 6 months to see it, you know, how much lower I can get it eating this way, because one would think, no, you're gonna have super high cholesterol. But cholesterol, that's also a whole different topic. You'll hear many doctors explain that kind of myth about cholesterol, especially since our brains need fat. And so I don't want to have dementia or anything like that. So I want to make sure I'm also fueling my brain as well. But anyway, so I can share more of that. 6 months from now, I will share labs again. Let's just see with me eating this way, how they are. And then in the next video, I will share everything I eat. I'll give you a sample grocery list. I'll share with you, I even have videos of what I've been eating over the past couple months and pictures to show you, to give you ideas. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is the easiest way of eating. And if you do try it and you do it the right way, not the way I think a lot of people are doing it, where they're complaining that they're not losing weight, I think that you know, could easily lose weight. But again, don't take my advice for anything. I'm just sharing what worked best for me. If you want to see another video on this new product from Paula's Choice, the 7% Ectoin serum, and why this is my new favorite addition to my skincare routine, I have not shared a new skincare product in a very long time, something that now has a permanent place in my skincare routine. I've had the same basic, boring skincare routine for a couple years. If you want to know more information about this, I'll pop a video up there. I can feel one of those rougher hairs somewhere on my nose, and it's driving me nuts.